It's your girl Shells, and welcome back to another episode of Mama Drama Podcast. Hey guys, how are you? Hope you have been great. We are joined by the lovely Alicia, and we have a very special guest. And you guys know that I'm lazy, so I won't be doing any introductions myself. I'm going to hand straight over to you to introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Maria. I'm from Karma 1-1, and thank you for inviting me on.
Lovely, jubbly. So, guys, we thought we've got a different kind of ep today, a little bit different. We thought we'd invite you on just to have a discussion about spiritualism, I guess. And I'm not 100% familiar with it at all. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know nothing about it, to be honest. I just use the word energy because I feel like people give me energy, and either I reciprocate the energy that I'm given or not. In terms of my background, you guys know that I believe in God. I don't necessarily go to church, but I definitely believe God exists, and I definitely believe that he's there and he's just out there. So for me, this is all a new kind of conversation. So I'm a novice, and I've never actually like visited someone who's a spiritualist. I've never had anything read into. I've never had for me personally, I don't believe in that stuff. So again, this is all new to me. So I'm here, I'm being open, and literally I'm like on the side that you guys are on. I'm on the viewing side and the listening side because I'm open to hearing about something new. So go ahead, Leash.
All right, so I'm going to start. What happened was Shells and I came up with questions. Obviously, this was a bit of a topic that I wanted to bring to everyone because I think people talk about it all the time and spiritualism, and don't really understand what it is. Definitely. So, as Shell said, she's been brought up in church, so have I. What religion are you again?
SDA, so Seventh-day Adventist.
Right, I'm Roman Catholic. That's how I've been brought up. And I think when we're going to school and when we're being brought up and we're going to church, we're told, to do certain things and not to do certain things. But then as you get older, I think for myself, it was when I was a teenager, you start questioning spiritualism. That's what for me it was anyway. When I was about 15 years old, I started just being interested in other things other than what has been taught to me only. Shells, I don't know if the same thing applied to you around that time.
Yeah.
And I think it's an age of development that you just get to and you start questioning things. And then I started just getting more interested in the other side of things. Yeah, spiritualism. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, what would you determine or what would you define spiritualism as?
Okay. So for me, spiritualism is a personal journey. It's a personal self-discovery journey, learning about yourself and connecting to all things. Spiritualism is not about, I would say, you've got to go to church or you're doing something wicked or you've got to do a certain practice. Spiritualism is a very, very personal relationship between you and the universe, God, however you choose to explain or who your higher spirit is or higher guide is. So when we're looking at spiritualism, for me, once again, as I said, it's a personal journey. And the more you learn about yourself is the more you become comfortable and learn how to do self-love. That's when you are actually tapping into your spiritual side or your spiritualism. Yeah, because some people do spiritualism and they're not the nicest of people. Yeah, so people get a lot confused a lot of the time as to what spiritualism is. For me, someone tells me that they're spiritual and they're really powerful. I say, okay, cool. And I say nothing else. No one needs to know how spiritual you are. Yeah, as I said, it's a personal journey. And it's not about ego. When it comes to ego, edging God out, it can't happen. It becomes untruthful. Yeah, it's about walking in your truth. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, Leash had that moment when she was 15, 16. For me, it was like, okay, why am I going to church? Why am I like, where did this all come from? Where did all these rules and regulations come from? Are they kind of man-made? And are you messing around with what God's instructed of us. And I was just like, okay, but we're human, we've got free will as well. So how do we navigate that? Like, I want to do certain things, but you're saying I can't do it because I'm of this faith. And I feel like it can be a really confusing time for a child or a young person, especially if like they're brought up in the church and they have to do certain things, and it's literally their religion. And then you've got the cultural element as well. So then you've got like society, what your friends are doing, what's the cultural expectations. For me, when I don't know if you go back in time when I was that age, I don't know. I don't think I necessarily heard of the word spiritualism. So what I would, and I hope you don't take any offense to this at all.
Just go for it.
Go for it. I'm going to be absolutely transparent here. I'm here, like, we would just, like, anything that is either not of God or not believing in God, where I would classify that as judge. Yeah, so that's what it would be put under the bracket of. And then like maybe like my grandma might come up with her little things, OBR and black magic and stuff like that. So for me, I've always heard it in like maybe the negative light. I've not heard of it in any other light, and I've not been attuned to that, and I've never done any reading or research into it. And it's only when now, the modern day, where everyone's like all airy fairy sort of thing, it's like, oh, I'm saging my house and da-da-da. And I've never done any of those practices. I'm just going to light a candle and relax sort of thing. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to find out a little bit more. And to see how that obviously impacts us now as parents and people who are in relationships, and just having relationships with people and stuff like that. And I find it interesting, actually, that you did mention about self, because I do feel like I'm a bit on a self-awareness journey. I've noticed it in the past like year or so that I've really just like had that deep reflection and deep kind of just wanting to know myself more, understanding my limits, but also understanding how my behaviors might project onto other people, or understanding how my behaviors might impact others, and just knowing how to calm myself at my core so I don't expound onto other people. So I do find it really interesting that you've mentioned that. What made you get into spiritualism?
Okay, so like you guys, you grew up in the church. I also grew up in the church. My nan and granddad were very strong in the church. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock until 5 o'clock.
Why is this alive? Why?
Yeah, so I was brought up in the church, but my nan and granddad, they were healers. So we came into, well, I would say we came into it. It's a natural gift. I would say a natural family gift to put their hands on people and do healing. Some people might think that's a load of rubbish, but for those who've experienced it and felt the energy, they will understand it.
Can I just cut before you start? So is this something where people in the church, when they say things like, I'm a prophet and I can do X, Y, and Z, in some of the churches I've heard people refer to themselves as that. Is that something similar to...
Listen, I don't care what anyone says. When it comes to spiritualism, it is not man-made. It's not man-guided. When we come to religion, there's a hierarchy. There's always someone on top telling you what you should and should not be doing. Now, as you said, we've been given the brain, the free will, the autonomy to think for ourselves. Now, why is it someone in the church that's been given a position has the authority to go and do exactly what I do? Okay? So when the pastor gets up, or the vicar, whoever is doing whatever service, gets up on the rostrum or in front of their people, and they start saying, I had a vision last night. What makes them different? They're doing exactly the same thing, just through prayer. Might not even be through prayer. I sit, I meditate, I pray. I still do my kind of Christian churchy practices, but I will not be bound to them. I've been in places where people claim to be of God and are so not. So when I come back to myself and I have to sit by myself and know myself, it's very important. I also have to give myself that self-love and know that I'm just as important as the next person, and that next person is just as important as me. So there's no hierarchy here. Yeah, do you see what I'm saying? So for a lot of people, when they go into certain groups, whether it be religious, culture, whatever, there's usually a hierarchy. And that hierarchy is usually someone telling other people what they can and cannot be doing and want to frown upon certain practices that they do behind closed doors. I'm going to say this. People will say I'm one of the biggest secrets in their life. People will come to me, but they won't tell anybody when they need help. Yeah. So my practice, I believe in doing good for all. The reason why I actually started doing what I do is because there was too many people out there doing not very nice things and charging a lot of money. And then I was like, is this person genuine? Once again, I've been brought up within this field. So I kind of had a little bit of a foundation and a background. So I thought, you know what, I need to be there to protect other people and let their journey be safe. And if I can walk with them a little bit of that way, job done. But it's not about me telling anybody what they should and should not believe or what they should be practicing. I'm only here as a, would you call it, a signpost.
I like that. That's quite humbling.
Yeah, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
People walk with me for a little while and then they move on. It's not personal. That's their journey. Yeah, so that's why I've got into doing what I do. Plus, I studied to be a youth worker, so I was doing youth work for quite a long time. And there's so many young people disaffected, not knowing their self, and it's got even worse over the last 15 years, where young people are just being left to be destructive without any guidance. We need to guide the young people, and they need to know themselves on a spiritual level, in the sense of you can do anything and you can be anything without restrictions. Why put ceilings on yourself? Why can't you be universal instead of the sky's the limit? You know what I'm saying? So it's about just being, but knowing that you're more than. So I would say about 10, 15 years ago, as I got more into this, I become one with everything. I would treat people just how I would like to be dealt with. People dealing with me in a horrible way, I would open up my heart and send them unconditional love just through my thoughts. And I'd just watch and see how people would change in front of me and how of service they would be to me as I was to them. So it's been interesting. Have you found when you've come to see me and stuff like that, in the sense of you've met me, you've spoken to me, my practice, how does it differ from other people in the sense of on a spiritual level?
I would say for myself on a spiritual level, literally what you said, although I see more than a signpost. I see you as walking me through my journey and helping me when I need the help and support that's required. So I may get a message or a sign, or I may get the knowing and the feeling that I feel like I'm going somewhere, and this is where my path is leading me towards. And then I will come to you and we'll have a little conversation. It'd be like, yeah, I'm on the right path. Yeah. And it is that, to be better with self, to show myself more self-love. And understanding that showing gratitude is a massive thing as well, man.
Definitely.
Gratitude, especially when you're down in the dumps, it's helped, because I've been on a journey. So there's been times when I've needed to be picked up, and I've actually picked myself up through teaching myself. And obviously from the support with Maria, just reinforcing that. And I think I felt that more in the COVID times. COVID times impacted a lot of people, and COVID was really hard. And at the time I wanted a job, and I remember I did the self-love workshop that you do. And when I did that, it was showing gratitude and setting goals, and I had to write little checks out to myself of money, and it was a practice. It's a form of manifestation, basically, yeah. And even when you taught me about manifestation, that worked as well, to the point where I got the house and everything, and I drew everything out, and then everything that I put on my vision board, and I think I showed you my vision board. I got everything on my vision board. So a lot of stuff is from Power from Self, but it's all been through a journey, and you've been a different part of my journey. So you weren't the start. The start started when I actually read the Book of Secrets. You heard of Book of Secrets?
No.
Mad. Yeah, because I was a pessimist. I had my son and I was quite depressed, so I was very pessimistic about everything. Then I read the Book of Secrets, and the Book of Secrets told me a thing or two about myself, and that's when it all started, from that point. And then I kind of just let things lay, and then I picked it back up again. And I've been on that journey of progression ever since. So it's funny that you say, you know, you're searching self and trying to understand self. That's a hard journey, you know, and it's not easy. Yeah. And it is.
It doesn't have to be that hard.
Mm.
So long as you can sit with yourself and be comfortable on all aspects of yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, the rounds and rounds. Yeah, just be comfortable and do you without regret.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it does help you to move. It also helps you to open doors for yourself as well. You know,
I needed to hear that because, child, I won't feed it to you guys, but child, I needed to hear that.
yeah, no, just
Actually just come in different forms,
literally.
yeah, no, just be.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a moment and just be.
Mm.
Yeah, you will appreciate it and you will thank yourself later. Yeah. Now, children
Yes.
and this journey
Yes.
is a deep one. Okay, so I came into my practice, like going fully into my practice, where I went and got my shop and everything when my son was about, 5, 6. Now, he was a different type of child. Yeah, he has got ADHD. He just jump off the walls, everything. You put something down, he's all over the place. As he's got older, what I found is his spiritual self and the little gifts that he had, it would play out in his behaviour. Because he may see things and don't know how to express what he's seen or feel things that other people may not see or feel. So it wasn't easy. It also, doing this journey, also, I would say, had a big impact on my daughter. There was times where I struggled, yeah, in the sense of doing this spiritual journey. I want to bite her head off. It didn't work. It didn't work. And then what started to happen was every time I start screaming and shouting at her about washing the dishes, making sure her school uniform's done, all of these little bits and pieces, I'd start to get sick. I'll tell you, the chest pains that would come on me weren't funny. And I knew it's because I weren't supposed to be shouting.
Mm.
So what that did, it helped me to draw back, know myself, and control my emotions. Weren't easy, but trust me, when you get that chest pain, it's a good reminder. Yeah, it's a good reminder. So what it did do is it crossed boundaries. Yeah, the boundaries started to become blur because I can't discipline her the way that I would have normally disciplined her because I'm changing. She's getting older, so she's changing. Now I've got to walk with her. So I made an effort and made sure every day that we would sit, we would talk about the day, how she was feeling, even down to with my son on the way home from school. How you feeling? What did you experience today? How did you find it? Weren't easy. Then I would have to be struggling with the teachers. Yeah, going in knowing on an energy wise what I feel when I walk in and how they perceive me and my children. Yeah, so I'd walk in, they don't know nothing about me. Remember, I've worked in education, I've done youth work, I've done like lots of different things. They would basically, this is what's happening, this is what you need to do. We're not giving you no choice. So I'd have to remind them exactly what my choices were. If I wasn't doing my spiritual journey, I think I would have lost the plot on some of these teachers and maybe got barred from the schools. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing myself and knowing how to control my emotions and my energy when I went into these places, just send them unconditional love from the time I get to that school gate. There's no time for anything else but unconditional love now because you know what, you need to hear what I'm saying to you. I'm not going to come in and start screaming or shouting or anything like that, but you're going to hear what I'm saying to you and you're going to pay attention. So said, so done. My son had a really turbulent time at school, all the way from nursery until he actually left school. The school journey, I'd be called up how many times for the day? Can you come to the school? Can you do this? Can you do that? I'd go down there. Once again, the whole interaction with the school energy was so negative towards young black boys at that time, and I do still believe it is now. It was disturbing. What happened as well was some of the teachers that he had to deal with weren't allowed to deal with him. Once again, energy-wise, and that whole clashing of energy. Right, so even with the ADHD, for me, I call those children the children with no filter. They can't help themselves. Their brain goes 1,000 to 1. They want to do what they want to do. It's almost like they can't have authority telling them what to do. So on a spiritual level, they're free spirits that have been suppressed. Don't get me wrong, some of the behaviour's out of order. But we have to allow the children to be children. And the reason why I just spoke about my son was because, as I said, I felt like he was a free spirit that would get himself into a lot of trouble because of that energy that he carried. And people would misinterpret that as being naughty when he wasn't actually harming or doing anything naughty. So I just wanted to kind of go over that. My daughter went off and done what she was doing, went to uni, had her children. Now she's actually doing this work herself. Yeah, she's actually doing this work herself. So she does her own little videos and readings and stuff like that. She seems to be enjoying it, but it's taken her off the path of what she should have been doing. But should she have been doing it?
Is a question.
That's the $1 million question.
So I always say, life is like a wheel. If you miss it this time around, you'll catch it on the next time around if you're ready. Just because opportunities come up and you think that you've missed it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've missed it. It just means that you might not have been ready at that particular time, especially when you've been on your journey. So you might want to rush things, and then twos, everything just crashes because it was rushed and it weren't actually time, and there were steps that were missed before you actually got to your destination. So, balance. Yeah, just bringing in that balance.
Okay, so I've got a question. Like I said, I'm very ignorant to everything, and I've never even spoken to somebody like yourself. You've mentioned cards, like your daughter reading cards and stuff like that. And I wanted to just explore that a little bit, because sometimes when you're scrolling on TikTok, some people be reading cards and stuff, and I do have a little watch just out of general curiosity, and I'm like, what are they reading and what are these cards telling them? That like, why can't you just look at me and tell me what you want to? Why you gotta read a card? So just out of general ignorance, like, I just want to know what is that about? What is it called really? And what does it entail? And how do you then translate what's on the cards to somebody's actual life, or is it vice versa? I don't know.
Okay, so for me personally, I'm going to tell you how I do it. So I am an intuitive reader. Okay, so I don't actually need the cards to read. I use the cards as a tool. So you can have tarot card reading, you can have angel card readings, you can have oracle card readings. There's different kinds of readings out there. Just depends on whatever the person's tool is. Okay, but these spiritual things that people use, spiritual things, they're just tools.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I do a reading, some people will come to me for a card reading, and sometimes I'll forget to pull the cards right up until the end, and but then once I've pulled the cards, it's just to confirm what has just been said. And the cards will tell you. So sometimes you can have words on the cards or just pictures. The pictures, as they say, a picture tells you 1,000 stories. So just by looking into the picture, it can tell you what might be going on for that person. And it's kind of like reading the person's energy, what's going on around that person at that time. You will draw for things that may have happened in the past, just to bring reference to just validation of what you're getting. It's nothing, it's not really scary or anything. It's almost like you have a knowing. Now, judgment. Sometimes you have to make a judgment on things, and you've got to kind of be like, okay, I've got to have faith in the information that I'm getting for myself. Nothing different.
Okay.
It just expands just that little bit more. That's all it is.
So it's like exercising judgment, kind of reading the energy. Is auras involved in that as well? The aura, no,
Not really.
not really.
Not really.
Energy from people, and then obviously they're just speaking to you about what they're currently going through, and then you're able to kind of like.
No one needs to speak to you.
They don't even need to speak.
No. That someone could just walk in a room,
Yeah,
and you could just pick up on whatever is around that person, and you could just start talking.
Oh,
So
wow.
when you're using a card, the card, if I would say, and I was speaking to someone about this yesterday, crystal balls, using cards, using a pendulum. So pendulum is something on a string. You've got a crystal at the end, and it moves up and down, left and right. Yes, no, maybe. That's what it does, right?
Yeah.
And people ask questions. There's other stuff like you can read through water. You can read through sand. There's another one that someone's handprint. These are things that people can use as a tool.
Okay.
More for you.
Yeah.
Not for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they know.
Okay.
Without using
using that. Okay.
That's just a tool. So my cousin said something like, "Oh my God, because there's cards." I said, "What do you mean about cards? Because someone could just, you could just give someone a reader, a true reader, a glass of water that you've been holding on to, and they can see things from that water. Yeah, it's more for you. Yeah."
Okay.
Not for the person who's reading. The reader has just the knowing, isn't it? It's the knowing. That's the only other way to really put it. So it's not you have to speak. You don't say nothing.
Okay. Can I just do something random?
What
have you picked up about me? Like, you've met me for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
It's been a bit longer.
I don't mind. We can. Okay, 20 minutes. We've been talking for 20 minutes, but I mean, just like in the conversation in passing, this can all be on camera.
All right, so,
I've not said anything else, guys, but I just want you to like, and you don't know me from anywhere.
Okay, so, all right. As you asked me that question, there's a communication problem for you at the moment.
Okay.
There's an issue that you need to talk up, and I want to say you need to be expressing yourself as honestly as possible. Watch what you say, because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Oh, interesting. Okay. It also feels like there's going to be, for you, I'm having an investigation coming up. So I don't know if it's something that you need to look into and take further, or, I feel like it's more of that. You need to stand your ground, but you need to talk up, and you need to talk to the right people. So as you asked the question, my throat went, so that told me that there's a big communication problem here, but you need to be mindful what you say. So just take your time, think about what it is that you want to get across, and be very precise. You do that, you're good.
Woo chow. That's all I'm going to say, guys. Thank you. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it cracking. Okay, so Leash, how did you meet Maria?
Boy.
How did you meet Maria, and what made you feel? Because I will just take it back, because we met way back a few years ago before I got married, and Alicia brought out one rock for me, and I was thinking,
it's not a rock. These people be rude, yeah. Rock, it's not a rock, it's a crystal.
She brought me out one rock, and I was like, oh, what the blower? But you know what? You're trying to be polite. It's your friend. It's at work. It's on the shop. She's like, oh, I got a nice little gift for you. I was like, oh, I thought she's got me something nice, like a bit of jewelry or something, a little voucher. Normally we used to buy each other food and get each other lunch or whatever. Okay, she brought a rock. I said, Alicia, what am I going to do with this rock? She was like, just have it in the car. Just like, put it around. It's just like, just have it around. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to throw the rock away because my friend's giving me a rock. So I'm going to keep the rock. I was like, I'm not going to hang it up, because if people get my cutting out to me, why is our rock hanging there? So I said, you know what? Safest place in my car is the glove compartment, and I kept it in my glove compartment, and I just kept it in there, and I drove around with it, and I just had it in my car. You were safe, innit? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was safe.
There
I
you
was
go.
safe with The Rock. But I just wanted to delve into your story a little bit more because I know Alicia's personal journey, her story, and you probably know a lot more than I, and I'm not going to bait out the business on camera, guys. But how did you guys meet? What was the pivotal kind of like turning point for you where you was like, actually, I feel like I need this guidance and I just need a bit more direction in terms of like my life and where I'm going? Leash, that's to you.
So I don't mind disclosing what actually happened and why I even came into contact with you. So back in 2017, when I met this beautiful lady and this beautiful lady as well, I was working on a case, and I recently spoke about this a few weeks ago as well at a women's conference. I worked on a case whereby there was female genital mutilation on a 3-year-old girl, and the mother from this case, she had took a picture of me online. So I was stupid enough back then at Twitter. People weren't using Twitter. I used my full name on Twitter, whole name,
Government
smiling
name.
like that, yeah. All like this, yeah, my picture. And this woman found my picture online. She photocopied the picture, put my picture in a jar, put some spices and whatnot, some what-haves, yeah, as you both remember, because at the time, Shells was working with me. At the time, I found out about Maria and I had to go to her and I was like, oh my God. So basically, the police called up to say they did a raid on this mum's house. And when they'd done the raid, they found the jar with me in it. So I was known as a social worker in a jar for a little while in the police. And then also that this mum had animal tongues and she had our names all written in them. So it was myself. And actually, Shells, you're lucky she didn't even know your name. Yeah. Because at the time I used to send Shells up and say, can you deal with this mum? Because she was coming for me nearly every day, wasn't she? Every day she kept on coming into the office wanting to speak to me. But I was busy and she was annoying me. So I was like, this mum. I was like, please. Lucky she didn't catch your name.
I know.
Because your name would have been there too.
Oh,
because she was wrapping up people's names. So the officers in charge, the surgeons and stuff, myself. It was all wrapped up in animal tongues and she put it in the freezer. She'd also written little stuff on limes and she put the limes inside the freezer as well. All this stuff's online, by the way, guys. Well, the animal tongues and I think the limes, you can see it online. You can look in BBC, you can look in the Daily Mail because they took pictures of it all. The only picture you won't see is me in a jar. They didn't put that out, but I think they wrote about it that I was in a jar. But I was scared, yeah. And I remember going into the office, like you were there, I was shook. And all the black managers were like, at least you go sort out yourself, yeah. And I was like, what do I do? Right? Because I was
Funny,
shook.
but it's not funny.
Yeah, it was funny, but not funny. I was so scared. I had to change how I was parking and stuff. And I put alert out to my family, and it was my aunt that said, actually, I know somewhere you can go. And it just so happened it was round the corner from where we worked. And I went there and I hardly said nothing. Maria was on the other side. And I was ready to wet myself because I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. And I came in there, you just spoke to me. You just spoke, said what you said that you already knew, said that she already came to you guys trying to look to do some madness. And you already knew what she had done, what she hadn't done. And I said, please help me. Yeah. And that's where it all started. Started from that point.
Give me goosebumps.
I even got goosebumps even talking about it a little bit, but the journey started from that point in 2007. So although I had read the Book of Secrets, that was done way from beforehand. But even before that, I read Been on a Journey from I was 15 because I read exploring myself and what spiritualism meant to me at that point. Yeah. And I was getting dreams. I was having very vivid dreams and stuff like that. So that was happening way back. But I put it to bed. I had kids. I was doing stuff. I was living life. But this woman she'd come for me. Yeah, on a different vibe. And I think I was really scared because I really believed in what she done. Because about a year before that, I worked in another local authority, and we had this young boy. His mum was Congolese, and her children were doing really outlandish stuff, things that they shouldn't be able to do. They shouldn't have the strength they should have had. They were beating up police officers. This young boy, he was 9, he had the strength of like 10,000 men. We couldn't get out the house. We had to call the police. The mum gave him coins. He was rubbing his coins all over his body. It was crazy. And we knew that she'd done some sort of black magic on him. Because I talk about this, it happens in social work. People would just go, oh no, it was nothing. the police rang us and said, can you come back? We can't get the coins off him. These were two white officers that thought we were joking around. And then the sisters ended up beating up some police officer, knocking one out clean. The mum had done all this crazy stuff. So a year before that, I already had just experienced something really, really, although it wasn't my case, I worked on it with someone.
It's
just
still
to support.
traumatic.
It was very traumatic. And then this happened. I was like, no, things are after me. So when I met Maria, I was like, Father God, please help me. I need help. And then that's when the journey started with just trying to get myself back in the space that I needed to, because this woman was sending for me, guys. I was getting dreams, and they weren't nice dreams. They were very different types of dreams. Pay attention to your dreams, guys, right? Because people sometimes think a dream is a dream, but these were messages. I believe in the ancestors give us messages, and I was getting very vivid dreams of the type of black magic that she was using, because I'll come back and I go, she died, I saw a dream, and they were using different tools and stuff that and it's not anything influenced by films or anything that I've seen, because I was telling you very specific things that I've never even seen before. So on to Maria now, because she was the one that helped me through that journey. But it took a while. It was about a year and a bit
that was
to clear that.
That was quite intense. That was quite crazy, the way that you actually came about. So a week before, this person actually came into my shop. And when she came in and she started saying to me about, oh, the social workers are taking my children, they're doing this, they're doing that. Something didn't sit right with me. Now, where I was based, I had a different space to do readings. Okay. I would call it my angel room. Now, I weren't comfortable with this woman being in the shop, so what I did is I took her out the shop and took her into the angel room. In my head I was like, I ain't selling this woman nothing. Yeah, this don't sound right, it don't feel right, it just made me feel sick. The only thing I could say to her is, go home and pray. And she left. The week after, she comes into the shop, and I recognised her as soon as she came in the sense of, oh my God, this is the woman that other lady woman was telling me about. And I was like, okay, now I have to help this lady.
That is like mad. Like, I don't know whether that's coincidence. I don't know whether that was supposed to happen. That is, to me, like, what are the chances that has happened and she's approached you and then I'm just like, wow.
God's guidance.
100%. Wow.
Yeah, God's guidance.
So in terms of that, then you can also obviously, and now you can pick up on like negative energies then, I guess, because what she was doing, that to me is all crazy. That is another level of crazy. And obviously she wasn't doing it for the furtherance of the betterment of herself or others. It was to obviously harm people because she felt that her children were being taken away, but only because she'd done something wrong. But she's not going to see it like that. So obviously you can pick up on like negative, bad energies, and then I guess maybe you're the good side and there's the bad side as well, because I'm just trying to just talk me through that.
So in everything there's a good and there's a bad.
Yeah.
Now I say that there's a price to pay with this work. Okay, there's a price to pay. If you're going to harm people and you have your own family and you've got your loved ones, know that energy will go back onto them, because that's what you're wishing onto yourself. So it goes back onto your loved ones. Now, I always say to people, if you want to harm anybody, if you want to destroy anybody, I'm not the person to come to. Definitely not the person to come to. I'm about uplifting, living in peace, living with light, living in harmony with all things. Yeah. And if I can't do that and do things with love, then I'm not doing it. And I've had lots of people come with their practices that wanted to harm even their own friends. I think it's quite disgusting. Now, does that make you an honest person, a truthful person, and that's your friend that you want to do certain things to? That's the person that you would say, I would do anything for. You know, you've got people that want people's relationships to split up. They will go out of their way to split people's relationships up. Wickedness. That is just sheer wickedness. Do that to people. Once again, some stage down the line, it comes back onto you. There's also people that I want to say do things to other people. Forget about it. Years later, stuff starts happening, like they have like a turn of luck or something. They come to me, oh, is someone doing something to me? No, this is your own energy. Yeah, it's your own energy. No one's set nothing on you. No one's put nothing on you. It just means you've lost control. You're not checking yourself. And you're allowing different energies just to rest upon you. So sometimes we walk around with energies and they're not ours.
Interesting. So we were talking about this beforehand, guys, but make sure you subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, make sure you watch all the way to the end if you're enjoying this ep. We were talking beforehand and you made a good point actually about the people that you bring around you. So like friendships, specifically relationships. I mean, your family, you're born into your family, but then when you get to my age and maybe even a little bit younger than I am, it's like after a while, your family, but do I really want to be around you, sort of thing. So how important is it to like vet your friends? I remember my grandma saying, watch the friends that you keep, because they're a reflection of you, but also that they're around you. Watch who you're bringing into your house. Don't let no one just come into your house.
Can I just say something on that though?
Yeah.
And we're talking about knowing self and spiritualism. Your grandma, Caribbean, said that to you. That was said from her grandma. That was said from her grandma and grandma, and so forth and so forth. Because they picked up an energy, because they would see things, because they would dream things. Don't sleep on this, because people forget where it all stems from and where it all comes from. And that was just a little message, right? For people not to forget that, because that's all been coming down to you. And you're thinking, you can think of how people have moved towards you in your life, from even when you were a teenager up until the point where you are now, and you would have picked up on something and you would have gone, no, it's all right, man, it's not even that. But you would have known from a long time ago. So I just wanted to add on to that before you answer the question about, because it's about spiritualism and how do you know and whatever. Most people have spiritualism from time before.
You're born with it.
Right?
Everyone's born with it.
And don't forget that. Yeah? It's the religion thing's more of an umbrella. Yeah, more than anything, because it's in our families, it's in us. We all have it. I don't know anyone that doesn't have it. But anyway, how do you protect yourself, Maria? Like I said, remember she said I gave her this rock.
It was a crystal, guys.
It was actually a tourmaline.
Yeah. So you remember. Thank you.
So I need these stones. I need these protection for my team.
Yeah, she remembers. She actually remembers. And I got them all the little thing, and they all looked at it like this. I was like,
yeah. Right, okay, so how do you protect yourself? So how do you check your friends and know if they're genuine? Check their energy of the people that they've been around previously. How do they deal with their family? How do their family deal with them? Would also be an indicator. Types of friends that they have. The kind of people that they want to be around will also be an indicator to who your friend is. Is it on the same vibration as you or not? Yeah, so you will attract people like for like. But once you're on your journey and you're doing self, you'll be very cautious about who you have around you, who you have coming around your children. Yeah, because your children are, I want to say, a little bit of a weak spot. Someone tries to get into your subconscious on a spiritual level, they can go through your children. In twos, your children start acting up. They go to certain places, they come back. They just takes you a week to get them back to normal because they've just stayed at one person's house for a night. Yeah, energy. They've picked up an energy. They're coming back home with an energy. You don't recognise your child. You need to get them back into alignment. How do you protect yourself? You make sure when your children or yourself go to certain places and you're picking up a negative energy, just go home, wash off. If you are godly, not everybody is. I want to say if you're godly, Psalms 23 is a brilliant one. Yeah, you feel a little bit, things don't feel quite right, Psalms 23. I need assistance, Psalms 23. I feel good, Psalms 23. Yeah. So by using prayer can also help just to, I want to say, put like a little bit of a shield over you. How else can you protect yourself? by listening to yourself, by not going to certain places. So you might be going somewhere and be like, you know what, I don't feel quite right going.
I felt that a few times. You know, when you're like, mate, I don't want to go, but the peer pressure, this one's saying, let's go, we're going. And it's like, you come up with every excuse in the book, like, I don't want to go, or I can't, and then either you go and something bad happens. I knew I should have stayed my ass at home. Why did I go out? Or you don't go and then something still bad happens and you hear, oh, thank God I didn't go, because I just felt like I shouldn't have been there.
So following that gut feeling that you get is quite important, and having faith in yourself. The information that you're getting is actually for you, and not everywhere is for you. And I also say, when you are wishing for things, make sure it's for your higher good. Car one's a perfect example. So people's like, okay, I want a new car, I want a new car. That's all they say, I just want a new car. Oh my God, I almost got into an accident. Oh my God, that was a near miss. Oh my God, look at that idiot. Wait a minute, you just asked for something. They're trying to give it to you, but you didn't ask in the correct way. I would like a new car for my higher good. You will start to see things start to flow just that little bit better, and that car comes to you just that bit quicker. Yeah, and no one's got harmed in the process. But when you command certain things and you don't use the correct wording, it can actually be damaging to you. Once again, everything carries energy. Yeah, I want can be a very selfish thing. So I would like, I'm being a little bit more, okay, I'm going to be patient, and I know it's already on its way. I want. That's more selfish. That's a little bit grabby. And when you're grabby, things get taken away from you too.
So is that like letting your ego rest?
Yeah.
Kick back.
Yep.
Let the ego.
Yeah.
Just kick back.
The ego is a powerful thing. I've been watching some stuff, seeing some on TikTok. I sleep and live on TikTok. But yeah, I see some powerful things. And Andrew Tate, I know he's not really popular, but he was saying something about the ego, and he was saying actually that you shouldn't let your ego, essentially, this is not his words verbatim, but you shouldn't let your ego define you, and your ego shouldn't rule you. Like, it shouldn't be like, yes, we have an ego, and yes, we all have an ego, but it shouldn't be who you are. And I really, from what I've been experiencing, I really be thinking people just let their egos get 100%. Like, they let titles, they let their ego, like, it just really gets to their head and beyond their head and in their lives and how they treat people, how they communicate. And it's just like, fundamentally, and what I'm gathering here and what I feel is that fundamentally we are all human. We're
First and foremost.
Correct. And we're all born with this kind of innate feeling. And I did study philosophy back at sixth form, and I really enjoyed it, because a lot of the philosophers will say we were born with this we're innate beings, and we, you know, although not all of them believed in God, they believed in a higher power, and they would say that this higher power or higher being would give us this feeling, and we're all born with it. And we'd basically either follow it to do good or you do bad, and it guides your moral compass and all of that stuff. So I do find it interesting that ego has to be suppressed when you're on this journey. This is what I'm learning and gathering up, right, guys? To like basically
suppressed.
Yeah.
But sometimes ego is necessary.
Okay.
In different circumstances.
So when would you say someone should apply their ego, and when it needs to be used?
Okay. So on that level, how would I define that?
Would you think like it's when it's like understanding and knowing your worth in certain things?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because what you said to me, like, I could take that to be egotistical, and I could be like, oh well, she's basically said I need to say what I need to say, but actually no, because I've listened to what you've said, and actually, although whatever I need to deliver might be correct, it's about how I deliver it.
Right.
And my ego will say, no, be shells. Say what you need to say with your chest and go on about your business. But I can't. It's about my delivery. So that's where I'm now taking it down a notch and saying, okay, cool. Yeah, you have something to deliver. Yeah, you may be right in that circumstance, but actually, these are the key thingies. And I feel like a lot of egotistical people don't have that. They just let their ego inflates them, and they just think they can do whatever they want to do, however they want to do it.
And some people come across as being really nasty when their ego kicks in. So we've had people around us, you know this, in our space. And when you've come into the space, the energy that they possess is very egotistical. Look at me, look how powerful I am. Look what I can do. Look how much money I've earned. Look at what I'm driving. Who cares? I don't. You know, it's not putting food in my belly. So you go and do that. If that's what makes you happy, allow your ego to be all big out there. But do know this, I will not entertain it. Yeah, that's when I shut down. Said we've been places. I remember years ago, I went to a big mind, body and spirit event, and there was a woman there doing angel sprays and stuff like that. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Me and my friend got to the stand and I was like, oh my God, I feel funny. I feel really funny. I had to actually sit down. So the lady whose stand it wasn't on the stand. So she comes back. So her friend goes, oh, this lady's really interested in like the angels. The woman turned around and said to me, I work with the highest angels. I looked at my friend and I said, don't we all? I said, thank you very much. That's why I felt funny when I came to her stand. Her ego and her energy were not of a nice one. If you said this is what you do, it didn't make sense to me. The energy didn't marry the behaviour. But what I did learn to understand a little bit later, it could have been my energy that threw her off. And maybe it was a little bit too high.
Yeah, hence why she had to then do that whole, I do
trip.
this.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna just bring it a bit raunchy. We haven't got the lights off, but sex. I think that's a massive one.
Okay.
I'm about to say, just bring this one in.
It is the biggest. I mean, it's not the biggest one because you've also got other languages like talking, touching, communicate. But I think sex, like, and I'm just gonna throw. I feel like right now they say because I'm not on the dating scene. You guys already know. Got my mister at home, but they say the dating scene is wild. They say it's the ghetto. You don't want to be out there. And yeah, basically, if you've got something, like, just keep cracking at it and just make it work to however you need to make it work, essentially.
You're like, you don't want to be here.
You don't want to be here. And I'm like, oh, but the streets are look. No, you don't want to be on the streets. Don't go to the streets. But I know, yeah. Do you know what, though? The thing is, I think that sex has become really disposable. Like, I don't feel like I feel like we have sex a lot now I might get thingied for saying this, but it's really about pleasure. It's really about, and sex is supposed to be pleasurable, but I feel like it's lost that whole meaning of like connection and connecting with your partner and actually you two becoming one and just like basically flourishing.
Avataring.
Literally what they do on Avatar and like flourishing and just being better people because obviously you've connected on that level. And I think it's such a deep connection because when you actually look at the whole process of having sex and all of that, it's actually quite deep. Like when you break it down, but I don't think we do that anymore. But certainly not my generation. We don't do that anymore. It's literally, okay, yeah, we have sex. We had a one night stand. Okay, cool. I had a one night stand. I went with this guy, went with that guy, or went with this girl, went with that girl, went to that thing, saw how many girls I could talk to and just had sex with all of them. And it's just like, some people don't even use protection. And I'm just like, yoy. Okay. So I say that to say, what are your views on that? And like, what would you advise?
On a spiritual level.
Yeah. Spiritual level.
Yeah.
It's quite dangerous. Okay. People use sex magic. There's a thing called sex magic that people do. And they entice people. And it's almost like you go into like a hypnosis kind of energy. Like you don't know yourself. Then twos, you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do. Then you've got the lack of self-respect. And I say lack of self-respect, and it's not about disrespecting anybody out there. This is about your self-worth and self-appreciation. Now, when you know that you're worth more than just that one night stand, or I like him a little bit more than he likes me, but I'll give it to him anyway. That's just letting a little bit of yourself go. It's almost like you're leaving a bit of yourself empty. Now, a little bit later on down the line, you might think, oh my God, I just want to be with somebody. But by the time you've met that person, how many other people have you been with? Yeah, so it's almost making you a little bit not as genuine to the relationship as you could actually be if he was a little bit more self-preserved. Not saying about not going out and doing and enjoying yourself, but everything doesn't have to be about sex. Just going somewhere, like, all right, for example, if you went to a restaurant, someone sat in the chair before you sat in the chair, you might pick up on their energy. Then all of a sudden, either you're feeling a bit aggressive or you're feeling a bit randy. Randy.
Randy. I was about to say, where?
Yes, proper old school. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, yeah.
I was like, she said Randy.
Yeah, but you don't know where that feeling's come from.
Mm-hmm.
You've also got people that said they'll come and sit next to you, and they might be thinking certain things, and you're picking up on their energy. In twos, you're thinking, okay, why am I feeling like this, or why am I thinking about that? That's a little bit of just energy transference. Sleeping with people, energy transference. So whatever demons or things that people have on them, you sleep with that person, it becomes a part of you too, or can become a part of you.
Even if you sleep next to them, I've got to say this as well, because I've experienced this, right? And I believe that sex is very intimate and you should be careful of who you're doing it with. The only time that I would say, again, being on a spiritual journey, you go through different stages. So I can say, remember, I've been doing this for a while, on a spiritual journey, that is, right? And even still ain't finessed everything, yeah, because there's still stuff that I do mess up on and be like, damn, I should have known this, and I'm going to learn a lesson now, and I'm like, damn, yeah. But sleeping with people I take very seriously, in the sense of the spiritual connections and what that means to me and how that impacts on me and my life, yeah. So for example, I was seeing someone before, and I feel like he was quite a ladies' man, would entertain ladies, yeah. So I would dream, not so often, I think I only had 2 dreams in a space of a year, right? But I would see him entertaining ladies.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Mad.
I don't mean to laugh.
It sounds mad.
It sounds crazy, but those was little indicators.
Yeah.
But it's a mess.
So did you ignore the dreams, or did you?
No, because it ended, and then I went out somewhere and I got really loud clarification of what I had dreamt about his behaviours. And I had other people tell me as well, like, this person, he entertains ladies. Yeah, he may not be doing something, but he sure does entertain them. And in my dreams, he was entertaining. He weren't doing nothing, but he was entertaining them way too much. Yeah. Another person, my baby father, I used to dream. I was very, very connected with him. Yeah, very, very connected. So I could feel everything with him. Everything you can think of. So if he was in trouble, I'd be like, God, he's in trouble. I know he's in trouble.
Sorry, and that's a real connection.
Yeah,
that is a real connection. You will feel that energy control. Remember, when you sleeping with somebody or engaging in sexual intercourse,
you're giving me my mum. This is something my mum. Oh my gosh, guys! My mum said to me, "Are you having sexual intercourse?" And I was like, "Mum, why can't you just say sex? Like, are you not sexing?" Like, no. Did you have sexual intercourse? Maybe that's why. I was like, for goodness sake, Debs. But anyway, sorry.
No, what you're doing is you're actually exchanging energy.
Yeah,
that energy is a very high vibrational energy. Now, if the other person's got low vibration, what you will find after a little bit of time, that happy-go-lucky person that you might have been, you are no longer. Yeah, because you start to lose bits of yourself and start to adopt that other person's energy. And then you start to mimic their behaviour. And then before you know it, where did you go? Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I don't recognise myself. What happened?
You hear a lot of women saying that. Sorry, Maria. A lot of women do say that now. Now I'm sitting here thinking, they're like, I've lost a bit of myself since I've been with him. I don't know, like, I don't feel like myself. I'm not me anymore. Like, who am I? I don't know who I am. They're just lost people. And it's just like...
Check her man's state.
Yeah.
Is he low-key depressed, for example? All that stuff you're absorbing, and that's the reason why I take sex very seriously and wouldn't just do it with anyone. Wouldn't even lay down next to someone just like that, because I'm going to absorb something. My ex, not the one that was the womanizer, but the one before, that was different. Blatantly a womanizer. The other one, that was like you said, it's a real proper connection, because I could be anywhere in the whole of London, and he would find me, I would find him. It was a weird, not a weird, it was a good connection, not a weird one, a good connection, but weird in the sense that something that I'd never experienced before, but only experienced, I feel like, on a journey. And then that's for me understanding then, having sexual relations with someone, you should take seriously.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, especially if you've got kids involved and the kids are in your yard, and then you're bringing someone. Take heed of when your child says, "I don't really like this person," but they don't tell you why or how. Yeah, they're picking up on vibes. They're picking up on low vibrations, like you said, innit?
Yep.
Like they're not feeling it, and they're not feeling it for whatever reason. I think sometimes we look for you need to give me the why. Sometimes I can't give you the why. It's just that I don't like it. You know me well enough. Yeah. I'll meet people and don't like them.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll be like, wow, I don't know, but I'm telling you I don't like them. 2 next couple years later, I told you I don't like them.
So your antenna, your spiritual antenna is up.
It's like this.
Just getting to know people, being comfortable once again with yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, and by doing that, you can also recognise other people. But you have to know yourself in order for you to be able to recognise people.
That's good. That's good. We are going to wrap up. I've just got one thing that I've learned, guys, that I wanted to share. I feel like you can be religious and be a spiritualist as well. And I feel like that because when you're saying Psalm 23, because I just feel like, you know, when you're in the church or you've got parents that are in the church and they read the Bible and stuff like that, maybe they may say, oh no, that's all stuff that you don't need to get involved in, or you shouldn't tap into, or you don't need to explore that. It's only God. But then, like I said, as I've become attuned with myself, I see God in nature. I see God. My son calls God the sun. So whenever he sees the sun, he's like, "Oh, there's God." And for me, that's him associating God with brightness, with light, with just happiness, because everyone's happy when the sun's out, and that's what he does, and that just makes me smile. It's like, oh, well, I've not just come up with this thing about, you know, the religious side of things. You've come up with that yourself, and you've labelled the sun God, and I think that's amazing. And I'm not going to take that away from him, although my parents may say otherwise, or his parents may say otherwise, or whatever. But yeah, that's my little takeaway, that they can go hand in hand.
Can I just say, as a little other side, so we spoke about the black magic that this woman done on me. What we fought it back with was prayers, straight prayers, lighting a candle and praying.
That's it, bringing that light in, and not a black candle either.
No, it was a white candle. I was
Yeah.
using, and that's what I used throughout a whole year. It was sheer prayers, and that's the other side. So when people, because we never said how we kind of dealt with that, it was just through prayers, praying. So you can do both. Can't be scared of both. I think all the practices that you do, what we do, is everything is what you'd find in every religion, almost everything.
And I'm going to bring it back down even to Jesus. I know this sounds funny, but if you think about the quote that Jesus gave us, you can do all I can and much more. Now, he's already telling us all these miracles that he performed, we can do them. Yeah, it's just that we need to tap into ourselves and learn how to use these energies that we actually have. Yeah, we learn how to use them properly in the correct way, we will flourish. If we learn how to use them in a negative way, trust me, it can take you down and under, and that depression level ain't funny. So yeah, you can do spirituality with religion. Just be good, man.
I love that. I love that. Maria, where can people find you? Like, where, if they wanted to have a, I wouldn't call it a meeting, like a session, or just some, I don't know, this sounds weird now. Consultation, that sounds better. I said a whole sesh. But if we could have a consultation, where can people find you?
Okay, so I'm based in Walthamstow.
Okay.
Number 96 Wood Street. We're open from Tuesday to Saturday, 10:30 to 5:30. I do usually take appointments because I do get quite inundated with people coming in for the assistance, and I also make a lot of products myself.
Okay.
So candles, mist, cleansing baths, stuff like that. Basically, just to keep you on track and keep you in your practice, and keeping it nice and light.
Okay, lovely. What's the name of your shop? It's in Walthamstow. That's East London, by the way, guys.
Yes, East London people. East London, if you can't tell. Right, so, the name of my shop is called Karma 121.
Okay.
And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and all the socials.
Online as well. They've got a website.
Lovely. I will make sure everything is in the description box. Thank you so much, Maria. This has been so insightful. I hope you guys have learned a thing or two. Thank you, Alicia, as well. And make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. And we are out. Bye.
you.